The hardest part wasn't watching strangers carry their furniture into my house. It was realizing the house welcomed them. The front door opened as easily for them as it had for me for nearly 60 years. For months, I told myself the walls would reject unfamiliar voices. Instead, they echoed with children's laughter. That's when I understood something I had spent years refusing to believe. A house doesn't belong to memories. It belongs to the people still making them. If you stay with me, I'll tell you why I spent 6 years fighting my own children over a home I could no longer care for, and how one unexpected knock on my apartment door taught me that love was never trapped inside those walls. I know what I'm talking about because I painted every room with my own hands, planted every rose bush in the front yard, and slept beneath that roof for 58 years beside the only man I ever loved. His name was Thomas. We bought the house in the spring of 1964. It wasn't much. 2 bedrooms. 1 tiny bathroom. A crooked porch that leaned just enough to worry visitors. Thomas stood in the front yard, put his arm around my shoulders, and smiled. One day, he said, "This place will know everything about us." He was right. The hallway knew where our children took their first steps. The kitchen remembered burnt birthday cakes and Sunday dinners. The bedroom heard whispered apologies after foolish arguments. Every scratch on the wooden floor had a story. When Thomas died at 86, I stopped changing anything. His slippers stayed beside the bed. His gardening gloves hung in the garage. Even his reading glasses remained on the coffee table exactly where he'd left them. People called it grief. To me, it felt like loyalty. Our son David visited every Saturday. He repaired loose hinges, changed light bulbs, cleaned the gutters. One afternoon he climbed down the ladder and looked at me carefully. "Mom, I'm listening. You can't keep doing this." "I'm doing just fine." He looked toward the roof. Rainwater dripped steadily into a bucket in the hallway. The furnace had failed twice that winter. The stairs had become difficult for me to climb. Still, I crossed my arms. "I'm not leaving." He didn't argue. He simply nodded. "I knew you'd say that." The conversations continued for years. Every birthday. Every Christmas. Every doctor's appointment. My children begged. I refused. "This house is all I have left." That sentence became my shield. What I really meant was something different. If I leave this house, I'll have to admit Thomas isn't coming home. I never said those words aloud. Not even to myself. When I turned 92, I fell on the back steps while carrying a basket of laundry. I lay there for nearly 40 minutes before the neighbor heard me calling for help. The ambulance took me to the hospital with a broken hip. The doctor didn't waste words. "You can recover. But you cannot safely live alone in that house anymore." I stared out the hospital window. Snow covered the parking lot. For the first time, I imagined the house without me. It felt like another funeral. 3 months later, I signed the papers. My hand shook so badly that the lawyer had to steady the document. As we walked out for the last time, I turned off the hallway light. I had done that thousands of times. That evening, I knew it would be the last. I whispered, "Goodbye, Thomas." Then I closed the door. My daughter moved me into a small apartment in an assisted living community. It was bright, comfortable, safe. I hated every corner of it. Nothing smelled familiar. The windows faced a parking lot instead of my garden. There were no creaking floorboards. No memories. For weeks, I barely unpacked. Every morning I imagined strangers walking through my kitchen, sleeping in my bedroom, picking apples from my tree. The thought made me physically ill. Then, one rainy afternoon, someone knocked on my apartment door. Standing there was a young woman holding a pie. Beside her stood 2 little girls. "I hope we're not bothering you," she said nervously. "My name is Rachel." I recognized her immediately. She had bought my house. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then the younger girl stepped forward. "Mom says you planted the big apple tree." I nodded. "My daddy built me a swing on it." She smiled so proudly that I couldn't help smiling back. Rachel handed me the pie. "We wanted to thank you." "For what?" She looked surprised. "For taking such good care of our home." Our home. Those words should have hurt. Instead, they sounded right. She continued quietly. "We found something while repainting the hallway." From her bag, she removed a small wooden box. I gasped. Thomas's old toolbox. The little one he'd hidden behind the wall during a renovation decades earlier because there wasn't enough space in the closet. Inside were rusty nails, his favorite tape measure, and a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it carefully. It was Thomas's handwriting. "If someone finds this years from now, I hope this house is still full of laughter. That's what we built it for." I couldn't read another word. My vision blurred. Rachel waited patiently. Finally she whispered, "The girls run through that hallway every morning. They've already left fingerprints on every clean wall." The oldest girl looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry." I laughed through my tears. "No. Never apologize for that." Thomas had been right. The house wasn't grieving. It was alive. A month later, Rachel invited me to visit. I almost refused. Then curiosity won. The moment I stepped through the front door, I noticed changes. The wallpaper was different. The furniture was gone. The living room had bright blue toys scattered across the floor. And somehow, it still felt like home. Not because nothing had changed. Because life had returned. The little girls pulled me into the backyard. "Come see the tree." The apple tree was covered with fruit. Exactly as it had been when my own children were young. The swing moved gently in the breeze. I placed my hand on the trunk. For one impossible second, I could almost feel Thomas standing beside me. Not as a ghost. As a memory. And memories don't need empty houses to survive. Before I left, Rachel asked me something I'll never forget. "Would you mind coming every autumn to help us make apple pie?" I smiled. "I'd be honored. We've done it every year since." The girls call me Grandma Eleanor. I'm not replacing anyone. I'm simply another chapter in the house's story. Now, at 93, I've learned something I wish I'd understood years earlier. Love is not furniture. It doesn't stay where you leave it. It travels with the people willing to carry it. You don't betray the past by allowing someone else to have a future. You honor it. So if you're holding on to a place because you're afraid letting go means forgetting, ask yourself this. Did your happiest memories come from the walls? Or from the people inside them? The answer changed my life. Today, another family laughs in my kitchen. And somehow, that feels exactly the way Thomas would have wanted it. The house never stopped being filled with love. It simply learned new names.